Welcome to the deep dive. So you're probably exploring different ways to, build that retirement nest egg. And maybe you're looking at precious metals for security, thinking, what about those really interesting collectible coins? Can I add those to a gold IRA?
Yeah, that's a common thought. It's definitely appealing, isn't it? Mixing the stability of gold with the history and art of collectibles.
It really is. So let's really get into this today. Our goal, drawing on Doug Young's piece, Can I Use My Gold IRA to Buy Collectible Coins? He's an expert here, is basically to untangle those IRS rules about gold IRAs and collectible coins. We want to make it super clear what you can and can't do for your retirement savings.
Absolutely. It's easy to see why people are curious. I mean, putting rare coins in your retirement fund, you might see it as diversification, something tangible, maybe with growth beyond just the metal price. But, well, when you dig into the actual rules for gold IRAs, it becomes pretty clear.
Okay, so let's just cut to the chase then. Can you or can you not put those prized collectible coins into your gold IRA?
The short and sweet answer, based on how Doug Young interprets the IRS regulations, is a definite no.
A definite no. Okay.
Collectible coins just aren't allowed in a gold IRA.
Right. Straightforward.
Yeah.
So why? What's the logic there? Why does the IRS draw this line between, say, standard gold bullion and a rare coin?
It's actually quite interesting, their reasoning. The IRS wants the assets in a gold IRA to have a value that's, well, relatively stable, predictable, tied mostly to the intrinsic metal content.
The actual gold, silver, whatever it is.
Exactly. But collectible coins,
Yeah.
their value comes from other things too, much more subjective things.
Like?
Well, think about rarity, right? The coin's condition, its history, who owned it, even just collector demand, which can go up and down.
Ah, okay. So it's about keeping the valuation grounded in something solid, the metal itself, and less about the sometimes unpredictable collector market.
Precisely, especially for a retirement fund meant for long-term security.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the IRS is trying to ensure stability and transparency in these retirement accounts. When value gets tied up in subjective stuff, it adds complexity, potential volatility, things they want to avoid here.
Yeah.
They're trying to prevent, inflated values based on how rare a coin is, which could mess with the stability of the retirement account. They want the core asset value to be consistent, globally recognized.
And the article really drives home that the IRS isn't just suggesting this, right? It's
Yeah.
a hard rule.
Oh, absolutely. Doug Young is very clear. The IRS explicitly prohibits rare or collectible coins in gold IRAs. There's really no gray area. The whole point is ensuring the main value driver is the metal content.
Okay, so to make this really concrete for you listening, what kind of coins are we actually talking about? The ones that are definitely not allowed in a gold IRA. Can you give some examples of these off-limits collectibles? Like, I read about the 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle. Wow, even something legendary like that is out.
That's a perfect example from the article. That specific coin, the 33 St. Gaudens double eagle, it has immense historical value, numismatic value, way beyond its gold weight.
Right.
Also, think about commemorative coins from private mints. They often fall into this category.
Why those specifically?
Well, unlike official government mints that guarantee purity and legal tender status for their bullion coins, these private mint commemoratives, their value is often tied to being a limited edition or the theme. It's less about the standard weight and purity, which makes them less suitable for the stable value needed in a gold IRA.
Gotcha.
And of course, any coin that just doesn't meet the IRS minimum purity standards for the metal itself is also out.
Okay, so no finding a rare gem in the attic and sticking it straight into your gold IRA. No limited edition private mint stuff either. But it's not like you can't use gold in your IRA, right? There are specific coins that are allowed. What
Right.
makes the cut?
Absolutely. The IRS does allow certain precious metal coins, provided they meet specific criteria. These are usually well-known bullion coins.
Bullion coins, okay.
Yeah, recognized as legal, tender, high-purity standards. The article mentions popular ones like the American Gold Eagle,
Mm-hmm.
the Canadian Gold Maple Leaf, the Australian Gold Kangaroo. These are widely traded.
Yeah.
And their value tracks the gold spot price very closely.
So these are the standard government-backed coins, clear purity levels. Okay, that clarifies things. Now, maybe just for a second, for anyone listening who's maybe a bit newer to this,
Yeah.
can we quickly define what a gold IRA is? How is it different from, say, my regular IRA with stocks?
Sure. Good idea. A gold IRA is basically a type of individual retirement account, like a traditional or Roth IRA.
Yeah.
But instead of holding paper assets like stocks or bonds digitally, it holds physical precious metals, gold mainly, but also silver, platinum, palladium, usually stored in a secure vault.
Physical metal. Okay. And why do people do it?
The main draw for a lot of folks is seeing precious metals as a hedge
Mhm.
against inflation, maybe market downturns. It adds diversification to your overall strategy, gives a sense of tangible security, especially when the economy feels uncertain.
Right, holding the actual
hmm
asset. And you mentioned purity or fineness requirements earlier. That's super important for anything going into a gold IRA, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely critical. The IRS has very specific minimum purity levels.
Like what?
For gold, it has to be at least 99.5% pure.
Okay, 99.5.
Silver needs to be 99.9% pure. And both platinum and palladium need to be even purer, 99.95%.
Wow.
These high levels ensure the investment is really in the metal itself, not significantly diluted by other alloys. It lines up with that long-term security focus for retirement, makes the value more directly tied to the metal.
So not just any old gold jewelry or anything, it has to meet these strict IRS standards. Now, setting one of these up, it's not just buying gold and telling your broker, right? There are other players involved, like gold IRA companies and custodians. What do they do?
Right, that's a key practical point. You generally work with a Gold IRA company first. They usually help with the whole setup process.
Opening the account?
Exactly. Opening the account, helping you choose the right metals, the ones that meet IRS rules, and they often act as a go-between with the custodian.
Okay, so what's the custodian's role then?
The custodian is the actual IRS-approved financial institution. It could be a bank, trust company, etc. They hold and manage your IRA assets. They make sure everything complies with IRS rules, and crucially, they provide the secure, IRS-approved storage for your physical metals. Plus, they send you statements and reports.
So the company helps set it up, the custodian holds and manages it, and that storage part, that's mandatory, right? You can't just keep the gold bars under your bed.
Definitely not. That's absolutely correct. The IRS is very strict. All precious metals in a Gold IRA must be stored in an IRS-approved depository.
Why is that?
These are specialized high-security facilities. They offer insurance, protection against theft, damage, you name it. Storing it at home, even in a safe, strictly prohibited. Doing that can trigger big penalties. It's all about maintaining the integrity and security of the retirement funds.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've firmly established no collectible coins in the gold IRA. But let's step outside the IRA for a moment. Why are people drawn to investing in collectibles generally? What are the pros and cons there?
That's a fair question. Looking at collectibles broadly, there can be upsides. As the article hints, some coins do have historical value that might appreciate. They offer a different kind of diversification and a wider portfolio. And let's be honest, the aesthetic appeal is real.
Mm-hmm.
People enjoy owning beautiful historic items. Plus, in the collectibles world, things like professional grading and documented ownership history, the provenance can really boost value.
Yeah, you get that tangible connection maybe that you don't with the standard gold bar. But what are the downsides, the risks?
Well, the risks are significant too.
Yeah,
The market for collectibles can be very volatile. Values can swing wildly based on trends or collector demand, which is hard to predict.
right.
Liquidity is another big one. Selling a specific rare coin quickly at the price you want. Not always easy. You might need to find just the right buyer.
Takes time.
It can. And then there are the ongoing costs the article mentions. Proper storage, insurance, especially for valuable pieces. That adds up.
And taxes are different too, aren't they? That seems like a really important distinction.
Yes, a crucial difference. The IRS taxes collectibles differently. They're capital assets, sure, but they face a higher long-term capital gains tax rate. Currently, that's 28%.
28%. Ouch. Compared to standard bullion.
Compared to standard bullion held outside an IRA, which usually gets taxed at the regular long-term capital gains rates, often 15% or 20%, maybe even 0% depending on your income. So yeah, that 28% on collectibles can take a bigger bite out of your returns.
Okay, so definitely something to be aware of. While collectibles are appealing, the rules and taxes are quite different. Now, back inside the Gold IRA, even though you're limited to those approved metals, you can still diversify within it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Diversification is key, even within a Gold IRA. You can't use collectibles, but you can definitely mix the approved metals. Gold, silver, platinum, palladium. Holding a mix can help manage risk because each metal behaves a bit differently in the market.
And you don't just have to buy coins, right?
Correct. You can also hold approved bullion bars and rounds, again, as long as they meet the purity standards. So you have choices in the form of the metal too. And the article briefly mentions things like gold-backed ETFs. Now, those aren't held in a physical gold IRA, but they offer a more liquid way to get gold exposure in a broader investment portfolio, just not the physical holding part.
Got it. So even within the IRS rules for gold IRAs, you still have options to build a diversified precious metals holding. And like any investment, you can't just set it and forget it, presumably.
That's right. Regular review, maybe rebalancing your portfolio periodically, is always wise. It helps manage risk, ensures things still align with your long-term goals. And as Doug Young suggests, talking to a qualified financial advisor is often a good idea for personalized advice based on your specific situation.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. The main takeaway seems crystal clear if you're looking at a gold IRA for retirement. Those cool, historic, maybe beautiful collectible coins, they're a no-go. IRS rules focus squarely on the intrinsic metal value.
Exactly. You've got to stick to the IRS-approved metals and specific coins, like the American Gold Eagle, Canadian Maple Leaf, making absolutely sure they meet those strict purity levels.
And understanding the rules, working with reputable gold IRA companies, choosing a solid custodian for that mandatory approved storage, those are all essential pieces.
That's the foundation for doing it right. And for next steps, if you are considering this, the article recommends really doing your homework. Research Gold IRA companies, look closely at their fees, pick a custodian carefully, focus only on IRS-approved metals.
Right.
Think about diversifying within the approved metals, and definitely stay up to date on IRS rules and market trends.
Excellent points. So here's a final thought for you to chew on. When you think about the different tax treatments, this strict focus on intrinsic value, the exclusion of collectibles, what does that ultimately tell us about what the IRS sees as the core purpose, the intended security of these gold IRA retirement accounts? It really makes you think about the underlying principles of long-term financial planning. Thanks for exploring this deep dive with us today.